A new study links the popular new weight loss drugs to the risk of suicide. However, several doctors say the findings should be taken with a grain of salt. Published Tuesday in the Journal of JAMA Network Open, researchers examined the World Health Organization's database for reported adverse effects of semaglutide, the main component of Ozempic and Wegovy. They found that out of roughly 30,000 adverse reactions reported, 107 included thoughts of suicide or self-harm, which represents less than 1%. CBS News chief medical correspondent, Dr. Jon LaPook, joins us now. So, Dr. LaPook, always great to have your expert, not just opinion, but take on all of this. What was your initial reaction to this study?
Well, I think it's important to understand that as more and more people are taking these medications, side effects that possibly are quite rare or unusual are going to start to be noticed or could potentially start to be noticed, okay? This study, did find that there was an increased incidence or suggested that there was a link to increased suicidal thinking with this drug. But it's a really tough study to kind of do. You'll notice that we don't know the denominator. We don't know how many people were taking the drug. We also don't know what the dosage was, how long they were taking it. So there's a signal. They're using some statistical methods to say it looks like it's more of these things than we thought was going to happen. But still, as you point out in the intro, it's relatively rare there.
So is this something where, there should be some sort of mental health screening, knowing that there is a small group of people that may be experiencing these kind of suicidal ideations?
Yeah, and, I should say that the FDA, just to be clear, the FDA has looked into this, and they have found no link between these drugs and suicidal thinking or actually actions, and the same thing with the European version of the FDA. So it's not established that there's this link, but yes, I spoke to the FDA today about this, and it's very reasonable to, and I'm an internist, I see patients, I've been prescribing this, to be able to say, you know what, in an abundance of caution, let me start talking to people before I prescribe it. Do you have depression? Have you had any thoughts of self-harm? And by the way, once you start taking it, you should really follow yourself if you have any abnormal thoughts or any change in your thinking. Let's make sure that you get back to me. We keep close contact with each other. So it's actually going to change the way I practice medicine, because I wasn't specifically going into that with my patients, I have to admit.
This becomes a case of more information to make the patients more aware of possible feelings or things that they might experience. You always hear at the very end of the drugs, when you watch the advertisements on TV, it may cause da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da.
Right, yeah.
So this is helpful, I'm sure, too, to patients to know that if they experience something like this, they need to speak up about it.
Yeah, and it's a cautionary tale. Recently we did a report about how it may be not only curbing appetite in the brain, but other use disorders. So, for example, the tobacco use disorder and maybe alcohol use and opioid use. And so there's a tendency to think, well, let me just try for that. No, these are not FDA-approved uses, and you have to know that eventually, when these new drugs come out and you have millions and millions of people using them, you may start to find adverse side effects that you didn't anticipate. So I think, for now, I'm happy we're all talking about this, and as you imply, we need to have great communication between whoever's the health practitioner and whoever the patient is.
You talked about what the FDA said. What about the drug makers? What about Wegovy or Ozempic?
Yeah, they say they stand by the drugs being safe and that they have safe profiles and that they're continuing to have communication with the FDA. So, they're aware of these reports, and they say that they're on it, and I think more to follow. And the FDA has told me they're going to let us know. They're doing ongoing studies, and if anything develops, we will find out.
All right, and we know you'll stay on top of it. Dr. Jon LaPook,
Sharika,
thanks for joining us. And if you or anyone you know is experiencing suicidal thoughts, professionals are always available to help at the National Suicide and Crisis Lifeline. You can call or text them 24 hours a day at the number on your screen there, 988.